So my name's Lauren. I am on the sales team here at Alice. I've been with the company for 2 years. Formerly worked in the assisted living space myself. I've worked in memory care communities and then moved over to home care before making the jump to the technology side of senior living.
Okay, so somebody who used to work in the industry, what makes you love Alice?
So, being that I came from the industry, I've both seen the challenges day to day in the communities, kind of what the families are facing, what the residents are dealing with, what the staff is dealing with, and just kind of all of those challenges. The other thing is that I've also worked with multiple technologies and kind of seen what's happening in this space and what it looks like from a day to day use.
There are a number of platforms out there that people can use, right? Why Alice rather than somebody else's?
Yeah. So the things that our customers love about Alice is, first and foremost, its ease of use. It's so easy for a brand new frontline staff member that's never logged into Alice, never used the system before, or even someone who's used to being on pen and paper to be able to pick it up and easily navigate and learn how to use the system. We do that through both our user experience. So just the layout of our dashboards, really bright colors, large icons, just easy to navigate, as well as we've got tons of like how-to videos and tutorials in our system and amazing customer support. So anytime somebody is brand new to the community, and we know that communities deal with a lot of turnover, we really want to make it easy for someone to just be able to pick it up and go.
And smartphone, tablets, laptops, what are my options?
Yep. All of the above. So Alice is a web-based software. It can run on any device that has an active, a strong Wi-Fi connection or internet connectivity. It works on Android as well as iOS systems.
Perfect. And if I were to go talk to your customers about Alice, what would they tell me?
Yeah. They would probably tell you that we have the best customer support and some of the best onboarding and implementation. I would say when we get new customers who are coming off of another system, that's one of the things that they're the most scared of, is that they've been burned in the past with, promises that have not been able to be delivered upon, bad or, really poor onboarding experiences, a lack of customizable features in the system. So I think our customers would really speak highly of those things that we do differently from our competitors.
Okay. So, how long does it actually, let's say that I don't want to buy Alice. How long would it take me to get up and running?
Yeah. Generally, at most, it takes anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks for a single community or a group of communities. We can do onboarding in groups if we've got portfolios that want to do that, or single communities. 8 to 12 weeks is pretty average.
Cool. And so there's sort of two, maybe three components in people using a tool like Alice, right? So you've got the frontline worker who's got to be looking at notes and putting in input. And we've talked a little bit about that. And then you've got department managers, nurse. Talk to me a little bit about their use and what they're using it for.
Yeah. So we've built the system initially for the frontline user. Basically, what we want is we need to have a system that the frontline user wants to use, can use, and is able to put good data in. When we have strong data, it allows for the corporate teams, the executive directors, regionals, all to be able to log into the system and see very high level overviews, BI dashboard reportings, KPIs of what's happening. So after we built just kind of like the basis for our system, that's when we were able to then take it to the next step and make sure that anyone who needs to can log in and see things from a full portfolio view, or be able to drill down by certain regions, certain states, individual community views, and even drill down to specific resident data in our system. So because we're fully integrated and all natively built, we've never acquired any other systems and kind kind of tacked them on, we're able to keep really strong data in there, as well as everything's happening in real time.
Okay, cool. So can you talk to me a little bit in terms of reporting about the things people are using the most, finding the most value in?
hmm Yeah, so a couple of the dashboards and some of the reports that are probably the most used by our customers. So census and occupancy is probably one of the bigger ones. We don't basically we don't delegate how census is or occupancy is reported. So we can report census on beds, heads, doorknobs, halves, holes. I want to say close to like 15 or 20 different ways that the different ways that the community counts census. We have built reports to be able to kind of spit that out, so it's digestible by the way that the community needs to see it. So definitely census and occupancy. I would say our CRM dashboards and reports are really great. We've got great KPI reports that show not only like new prospects that are in, prospects that are needing follow-ups, how many tasks have been completed, and then of course your trends. Your uh, move-in trends, move-out trends, market sources where those are coming from. So those are super popular. And then I would say probably from a clinical standpoint, one of my favorite dashboards, we have what's called a risk management dashboard that shows a view, again, either by the portfolio, community, or region, letting the nurses know, do we have any evaluations that are coming up due? Have we had a heightened number of incidents in our community? Do we have a lot of behaviors going on in the community? Missed medications, things like that the nurses are asking their teams on a daily basis. They can log in and be able to see that really quickly.
I want to dig a little deeper on the dashboard. So tons of discussion about data. But I think that sort of more broadly, there are two areas that I see people really interested in, right? Now, the first is broadly residents at risk and being able to figure out who's at risk, and in particular, whether there are things I can do to mitigate that risk, which will give a resident a higher quality of life, and B, potentially increase length of stay. How do you deal with that?
So, risk mitigation is definitely a huge part of what we're trying to accomplish as well, for the communities. So definitely through, and I know you talked a little bit with John about this, but being able to take all the data that's in the system. We've had a machine learning practice for over 5 years and have been able to kind of take all that data and be able to determine when there's changes happening, sometimes even before the community notices. And it's going to be things like noticing trends of heightened observation notes, so some critical observation notes happening on the resident's record, a heightened number of incidents on a specific resident, whether that be behavioral or falls, things like that, as well as medication changes. When we're seeing that residents are either starting to take an increased number of medications, or the vitals that are tied to those medications are more out of range, out of their normal range. As well as like an increased number of PRN medications for pain or behavioral management. Those types of data points really help us paint a clearer picture of, hey, there might be something going on here. There may be some changes of condition, and we flag those residents so that the teams can kind of see these on the forefront, and try to take the steps to mitigate those risks, whether it be, talking with the physician, talking with the family, reevaluating the resident, monitoring the resident, or making certain staff changes, increased staffing on certain floors where they're seeing a lot of these resident changes.
So, how do you solve the data overload problem? So, I have a fairly new car.
Okay.
And it's got all these bells and whistles, right? And there's lots of things I like about it, but it's always warning. It's always telling me I'm doing stuff wrong. And that always becomes a problem. We know that for airlines, it's a huge problem because you get this data overload. How do you make sure you deliver that data in a way that is consumable and not overwhelming?
So I would say, on the most basic level, we are highly customizable. So we can turn on or turn off notification settings, alert settings. We can decide who needs to receive these. So not everybody is being bombarded by the same amount of things. We can also do things for the people at the communities or for corporate teams where they can receive just like a daily email of all the things happening in their community or communities where they're not getting bombarded on an in a real time fashion. We can turn on real time, absolutely, but it's really up to the community. So really, just being able to customize, turn on or turn off certain settings is one way of doing that.
Okay, terrific. The other thing that I know is an ongoing challenge for operators is making sure they actually capture care revenue. So, and it seems to sort of fall into two categories. A caregiver will either not adequately document, or maybe sometimes a caregiver even decides that the work level is not that big a deal. And so again, it sort of becomes a documentation, but they minimize it. And it can cost a building thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a month. Are there things you do with that?
Yeah, so we actually, and I hate to just keep going back to our AI tool, but we also have another AI tool that was built in our system called Care Level Optimization. What it does is it takes the data points from what the resident was actually evaluated at, so the number of points or level of care that they're at, and then it basically looks at the actual care delivery. So it compares it to what care is given, how much time it's taking, whether a resident is refusing care or receiving what we call PRN care, so additional things that are maybe not even on their care plan. When a user logs in to view the care level optimization report, it'll actually show the list of all of the residents, what they're evaluated at, and they're going to it's going to compare it against what they're actually receiving, and it's going to put a monetary value to that. So it's going to say, for example, you've got 50 residents in your building, 25 of them are at level, so they're accurately and appropriately placed, they're receiving what they're paying for. And then it might say there's 15 people that are overutilizing the care that they're receiving, and this is how much it equates to based on what level of care we're recommending that they should be in, as well as we want to flag what's being underutilized, because that can also be something that could cause a move out for a community. So we're going to put those values, and then when the staff member wants to actually look at it, they can then click in just a step deeper to actually look at exactly what care items and how much time additional that they're receiving. First of all, it's great for just noticing when those residents may need to be reevaluated for a higher care level, but it also makes the conversations with the family much, much easier when you can see it so clearly.
Yeah, no, I really like that a lot. I think it's a huge thing. So does it also help you with staffing? Does it?
It does, because a lot of communities do their levels of care based on points that equate to hours, so points to time. We also have a tool in our system that will help the staff members or the EDs when they're doing staff projections. Now, I do want to be really clear: we do not have a staffing tool built in Alice, but we can actually take based on the levels of care that are tied to certain hours or minutes. And be able to help project how much staffing is needed. And we can break that down not just in the community, but by floor, by task lists, shower lists, things like that.
Give me a story about somebody who has gone from a different platform to Alice, and what they've said about why they like Alice better.
So about a year ago, we were connected with a group of communities, also out of Colorado. Colorado seems to be one of these fast growing community areas. And we were met with a lot of fear. They were coming off of another system. They had been burned with, again, promises not being delivered, a really, really rough onboarding. And then, quite frankly, the teams just were not using it. It had very, very low adoption. So it was very challenging for them to even really want to make those next steps of moving forward, but they kind of knew that it was time. So, they had a lot of questions. They were very weary. They were very skeptical of how we were going to be very different. When we finally got the onboarding plan and the rollout plan, the first community that was in kind of the pilot program was so excited that we actually had to start moving the next groups out much quicker. We were going to do a rollout where there was like a 30-day gap between the next group of communities, and they opted not to do that because they were like, no, all of our other teams have kind of seen, previewed, heard about what's going on, and they were just like, really the push was from the communities, which is so rare because that's usually where you get the push back, is from the people that actually have to use the new systems. So that was really fun. And then just, being able to see the contact that I was working with at conferences after we've rolled out, and just kind of the enthusiasm that she had for our system, just her ability to be able to report on things that she couldn't report on before, was just awesome. It was, I don't know, proving someone wrong, proving someone that there's a better way it's really fulfilling.